Okay, guys. So as we jump into statistics, for a lot of you are like, wait, I haven't done this for ages. It's true. The last year, for those that are in, 10-3, 20-3, and 30-3, if you didn't do 10C, probably the last time you did any meaningful statistics was either grade 7 or 8. There is a small question usually on the grade 9 PAT about statistics, but it's unlikely you've had to do much with this. It's early in junior high. So that's interesting. You may have had to deal with like mean, median, and mode at some point. I would expect when we're just looking at the initial part of this book, probably there is some before knowledge here, right? I would think for lots of you guys, probably today's lesson is mostly going to be review. I would suspect for a lot of you, you're in the yes or some for finding mean. Median and mode, maybe that's where you are, maybe it's not. I wouldn't be surprised though if you're also yes, no. I would suspect with trimmed mean, that term is probably not one you're familiar with, but then as soon as we get into it, you're like, oh, I understand what that means. The big idea is here, trimmed mean is going to be using outliers to adjust your mean slightly, getting rid of outliers. Then weighted mean, I would think for most of you, that's probably a no totally. Probably don't know what that is, probably don't know how to do it. It's okay, we'll get there. And then lastly, percentile rank. This is the part that's kind of the most comparable in this course to the 20-2 section of statistics. I would also expect mostly that's probably not that familiar. But all that is basically if I took you guys as a class and I ranked you based on how much I liked you, one of you guys is in the 10th percentile and one of you is in the 90th percentile, right? Would you rather be in the 10th percentile or the 90th percentile? Yeah. So the highest is the better, and the lowest is the lower, right? So Cole, based on that answer, has now gone to the 10th percentile. I hope you enjoy it. No, just kidding. And that's actually usually, to be honest, it's usually used when we're curving something normally, making a bell curve, and then we're saying, based on that bell curve, that normal distribution, or this part in the distribution. That's how that was used. So probably we don't know that yet. We'll probably get there. So take a look through here. We're in the 4. Just figure out, okay, what do I know, what don't I know, where am I at? Okay. Now, the mean. Now, this is not just, Mr. Boyce is so mean, he made me put my phone away. It's not what we're talking about in math, though it is true. I'm being true, if you like. The mean. Now, usually, we actually just call this the average. This is a specific average, but in average, we're going to call this the mean, because the other measures we're going to do, median and mode, are also measures of central tendency. They tell you something about the middle of the data, but the thing we would usually call the average is the mean. Okay? To calculate the mean of a set of numbers, just add them up and divide by however many there are. So the basic mean is take them all and then divide by however many there are. So in a case like this, calculating the mean here, so we just add up all of these. So this is 7 plus 2 plus 4 plus 7 plus 8. And then we divide by however many of them there were. Well, there were 5 numbers. So 7 plus 2 plus 4 plus 7 plus 8. Divide by 5. So our average here, our mean, is 5.6. Is that right, by the way? 28 divided by 5, yeah. Now I just want to show you something. If you put in your calculator, if you type in on your calculator, 7 plus 2 plus 4 plus 7 plus 8 divided by 5, you will get a different answer than what I just said. Because what your calculator does, it remembers order of operations, and it does 8 divided by 5, and then it adds all of that together. This is not what you're being asked here. When you have a fraction set up like this, it's telling you everything on the top kind of has invisible brackets assumed, right? It's implied deal with all this junk first, and then divide by 5. So make sure that when you're putting this in your calculator, you're either bracketing this, or most likely what you're usually just going to do is go 7 plus 2 plus 4 plus 7 plus 8 equals, and then hit divide by 5. Cool. So that'll generally be what we're going to do here. You go all this stuff equals 28, and then we go 28 divided by 5 equals 5.6. Cool. So that gives us kind of an idea of how we'll do the next one. And I would imagine for most of you, if you had done that on the first one, and you got whatever the answer would have been in that case, 1.6, like 20.6. If you got 20.6, you probably would have said, wait, something's wrong. I made a mistake. The numbers are familiar enough that if you had done that, you probably say, okay, I see something's wrong here. I need to go back to the drawing. Once we get bigger numbers like this, it's very possible you wouldn't know this. So let's be careful with how we do this. So first of all, I look, and I'm wondering, okay, how many numbers are there here? Well, there are 6 numbers. So we're going to be dividing by 6. So the way I do this is 56 plus 73 plus 48 plus 75 plus 43 plus 41, all divided by 6. Make sure you do include or do all the stuff on the top first. 56 plus 73 plus 48 plus 75 plus 43 plus 41. Which would you like? Good? Black? Good, silver? Good, thanks. Okay, next one. Well, let's read this carefully. I've seen a student go 3, 1, 7, 4, 5, 6, 3. No, those dots are not the same as columns. 3.1, 7.4, 5, 6.3. There are 4 numbers here. So we're going 3.1 plus 7.4 plus 5 plus 6.3, all divided by 4. Why did I do that? Why did I round? Why did I move from hundreds to tens? Oh yeah, because it told me. In a case like this, by the way, if I wasn't told it, I wouldn't have rounded that. Nearest hundred seems like it would have perfectly fine there, but I was told around nearest hundred, so I didn't. Right, but like 5.45, that's a number that most of us can still quantify. I find generally with small numbers, nearest hundredth is perfectly reasonable because we're used to dollars and cents. But if we're told nearest tenth, we do nearest tenth. In general, the rule of thumb you'll be given is either to the amount of decimals given or to 1 more. That's most often what you have to do with. I know lots of you who've done a bunch of science, you're familiar with significant digits. That isn't done usually in math quite the same way. Rather than wondering about the amount of numbers happening, instead it's usually to which place value, right? So either tenths or hundredths. So if we had looked here and said, oh, it's 2 sig digs, it's 2 sig digs, sure, but that's not really actually what we did. We just did near tenths as we were told. Yep. And next one, okay, I have 4 values here. So it's 127 plus 275 plus 158 plus 96, all divided by 4.
164.
Nice. Yep. Okay. Now on this next one, I just want to take a look at this. So Christina's hockey team scored 3, 2, 5, 1, and 2 goals in its last 5 games. What's the mean number of goals? So we're going to do the same thing. But before we calculate this, taking a look at this, what do you think the average is going to be around? 53, 5, 2, 1, and 2. What's it going to be somewhere in the range of?
2 or 3.
2 or 3. Okay, nice. Yeah, somewhere in the range of 2 or 3. Why do you think that?
Just because that's like the median.
Okay, yeah. So you're thinking that the average should be close to the median here. That seems reasonable. Now, what if instead the numbers were 1, 5, 5, 5, and 5?
Like 4.
The midpoint would still be 2.5, but yeah, in that case, it's a lot more heavily skewed toward the 5. Probably be 4 or 4 point something. And this one we see there's a bunch kind of in the middle there. There's a 1, there's 2 2s, there's a 3 and a 5. So I'm like, okay, it's probably just a tiny bit skewed lower. Maybe 2.2 or 2.3 or something like that. So before I even do this, I'm thinking, I already know about what it's doing, which is a kind of helpful cue, because I don't know about you, but I make mistakes in my calculator lots of times. So just having an idea of, okay, it's going to be somewhere in the range of 2-ish. Now let's see what it is. So 3, and we should probably, it's a word problem, we should probably write that down. So 3 plus 2 plus 5 plus 1 plus 2 over 5. I had a student last term who was really ambitious with their simplification, and they just decided, oh, 5 divided by 5, that's 1, so I'll just call this 1. 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2. Be careful. You can simplify situations like this if you were to divide the 5 by everything, right? This actually will be the same as 3/5 plus 2/5 plus 5/5 plus 1/5 plus 2/5. But in general, it's going to be a lot easier. Add up what's on the top and divide by 5. So 5 plus 5 plus 3, 13 over 5 is 2.6. Oh, I thought it was going to be slightly lower than that. I thought like 2.3 or something. So 2.6. And we were asked a word problem. So we should probably say the and in terms of like how I will mark this, if you had written 2.6, bracketed, boxed it, whatever, showed it, of course I'll do it first. But I'm hoping at this point we can start thinking, what's the best way that I can express this? How can I answer what's being asked of me? Well, I was asked what's the mean number of goals per game in the year's 10th. So answer, what was the mean number of goals for your 10th? Right? Tell me what I'm looking for. It's the kind of thing where really, a situation like this, you're starting to think, how can I communicate this most effectively in a situation of, what's being asked of me? So it's probably no longer arbitrary random teacher asking you questions on paper. But instead you're starting to think, okay, I was given this spreadsheet and I'm asked to give this to my boss. Try to do something pretty well, right? Try to set this up so that you're impressive. So, communicating more clearly, being really clear in terms of what you're trying to answer and how you got there, those are skills of effective math communication. Okay. How about this? Toy Store. Average price of the Christmas gifts people were buying for their children. So she sold, she sold 5 giant teddy bears. Okay, so there was 55 and 5 of them. She sold 8 Nerf guns. She sold 15 sets of Lego. And she sold 3 puzzles. Now, I will tell you, a frequency table, if you have one of these calculators, there is a really nice way to do this. Really, really nice way to do this on a graph calculator. That's not, however, something that's expected in this course. I'll show you how we would just do this instead. But if you want to see how to do this on a graph calculator, I can show you.
I have one at home already.
Okay, if you want to, I can show you later. But let's just think of what's being asked here. So how would we find the mean in a case like this? I found sometimes people are like, oh, I'll just add up 55 plus 37 plus 89 plus 20 and divide it by 4. Or they'll go like, add these up, divide by 8, something like that. Well, let's think about this. If I had listed all of the items sold, I would have 55, 55, 55, 55, and 55. I would have 37, 37, 37, 37, 37, 37, and 37.
Oh.
I would have 15 89s, and I would have 20 and 20 and 20. So in total, how many items were sold? Well, in total, the items sold was 13, 16, plus 15. There were 31 items sold. You want to leave in the middle of this thrilling lecture? I can't believe you'd be willing to miss out on this, transformational.
It's scary.
Yeah.
I didn't see 50.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad it's not just me. So there were 31 items sold in total. Now the harder part is thinking, okay, what was the total price of those 31 items? So really, okay, I know that I'm going to have. If I was thinking about in general, the way we've been kind of finding this, we've been doing total cost over number of items. Right? That's the general form of what our average formula is, yeah? Yeah, sure, as soon as you want to go. So total cost over number of items, okay? And I see my number of items there. How do I find the total cost in this solution? Was randomly guess a number?
Yeah.
That's what a lot of us would do in test. That's not a good strategy. But I'd probably give you part marks if you'd like to hear.
I do it all the time.
Okay, but I've had a student go 55 plus 55 plus 55 plus 55 plus 55 plus 37 plus 37 plus 37 plus, right?
Oh.
You could do that,
Can't you
but what's the other way you do repeated addition?
multiply?
Yeah, multiply. Okay, so the price is going to be 55 times 5 plus 37 times 8 plus I have this magical thing called expand page. I bet you guys wish you had that, eh? Plus 89 times 15 plus 20 times 3. So my top is all that stuff. 555s, 837s, 1589s, and 320s. And I'm dividing that by 31. Because there were 31 total items sold. So I'm going, okay, 55 times 5 plus 37 times 8. By the way, I bracket each of these. You wouldn't actually need to, because order of operations, your calculator will do the multiplication before the addition, right?
But you could bracket them all together so it doesn't.
Yeah, although frankly what I just do is I just hit equals and then
Oh, I need to divide it.
but it's, yes, you would need to bracket if you're doing it all. 89 times 15 plus 60. So 1966 divided by 31. So the average cost is 63.41932. We were given this as money, so go 100.
Please excuse the interruption. If you are attending the Jasper trip, I need you in the small trip right now, please. Thank you.
So I would think in general, that's a step up in that, right? That's quite a bit harder. Well, if you really, that's it. Nice recording, we'll know that for all time. Alright, now this next one, this is probably familiar to something you would have done in junior high, but this is also a bit of a tougher question. So if we're thinking, these are our first four assignments. So you got 65, 73, 57, and 62. Oh, that sounds like something. And she wants the average to be 65%. What mark does she need in her fifth assignment? So let's just think. So this formula we've been kind of using is average is, or the mean, is equal to total whatever over number of items. So like, wait, that doesn't help me. I don't know what any of that means. So let's think, okay, number of items. I see there's 5 of those. And the total is going to be 65 plus 73 plus 57 plus 62 plus something else. And she wants her average to be 65. So let's just write out what we all know here. So we know it's 65 is what she wants her average. And we know she had 65 plus 73 plus 57 plus 62 plus something, which hasn't happened yet. And we know there are five assignments. Okay, if you have an equation like that with one unknown, how can you solve for that? Yeah, algebra that.
Bro, this is hard.
This is pretty hard. I would say both question 3 and 4 are pretty tough. Okay, now, does this seem as hard if you remember that you can just go times 5, times 5. So now we end up with, 325 equals 65 plus 73 plus 57 plus 62 plus x. For some of you are probably way more efficient than me and decided to just combine all this, because 65 plus 73 plus 57 plus 62 is just a number. If you just add those up. So then we say, okay, 65 plus 73 plus 57 plus 62 So if we just took all this, went over to here where I have space because I expanded my page, and said, okay, so 325 equals 257 plus x. Now this isn't too bad. So the big trap was just recognizing, oh, this is all divided by 5. If I want to make it so I can just deal with all this adding in x, the opposite operation, divide by 5, is multiply by 5, multiply by 5 to both sides. And I'm left with 325 is 257 plus x, minus 257, minus 257. Fair enough? We bid you adieu. Can everyone please wave as well? Nice to have you. We'll see you tomorrow. Was that weird?
Yeah, that was weird.
Would have been weird if we all pointed though.
Yeah.
Next is Dr.
As she leaves. Okay, so I think once again kind of hard, but the big thing is just setting up, okay, what do I know? Well, my formula is that my average is equal to the total amount of stuff divided by the number of items. And if I know almost all of the items except one, I know the average, and I know the amount of things that happen, then let's just multiply this out to figure out kind of total and total plus the one thing, and then we can find what the missing piece is. Okay, very similar here. Kosi cuts lawns to earn extra money. Charged these 3 lawns, wants for the 4th one. How much did he charge? This is the same problem as the last one. Can you try to set this up? See if you can set this one up, and then we'll go over it. But if you want to know how much does he have to charge in the 4th one to bring that average up to $25 per lawn.
Whoa. What? Not fair.
Yeah.
Or yes, he has to actually charge a lot.
Plus 15, plus 30.
You can tell his first two kind of brought him down a lot.
Yeah,
He's
like,
got
I
some-
don't even do that. If he's trying to average 25, I don't get it.
maybe he's building up his client base. Now he's going to change the
Maybe
price.
their lawns were small
And
Yeah,
then
maybe 3.4.
Oh,
though. Is this just like the last
wait,
one,
this
kind
is
of?
free. It is. Add the 4th one in. And then call it a 4 members divided by 4.
Yeah. You can also do this at the slowest way possible to try every number until you get.
Hey, I want to point out something here that was just suggested by Cole. You could do trial and error. You sure could. It might not be the best method, but it's pretty really good. You might take a whole test to do one question, but
You want to do the graphing calculator thing you talked about?
I'll show you.
Okay, I will show you.
I'm not going to show it on here because right now the program I've set up won't allow me to exit to go into graphic calculator. I can show you a step.
Plus A. This is when graphing calculator like a cheat code. Oh, he wants to earn.
It is, but the reason I won't show everyone as a class is for most people actually just remembering how to do it is almost harder than
Yeah, I don't want to throw another one at him.
Okay, so that's how I set this up. Why did I pick A? I don't know. Because I did, I guess. So, times 4, 100. Oh, please work with me, pencil. Equals. Welcome back. I wonder if the other two will ever return. Not all check mark perhaps.
Yeah, sorry.
You guys have handball practice today. Today and tomorrow. Alright. They're locked out. So yes, I agree with you. They probably should have started a little bit higher.
Yeah. Yeah. Who are they charging $45?
welcome back. So, you now get a chance to do a little bit of practice here. Those that would like to, I will show you how to do this using your graphic calculator for a frequency table. Good? Good?
Can I go? I gotta grab
Yeah.
stuff.